Not sure if this is a glitch in the Matrix per se, but definitely uncanny. Backstory: I used to live in another state for a few years before moving back to my home state. In this other state, I started my first job at a grocery store. I was a typical innocent good girl who loved her job and could cake on the cheese for the customers and actually looked like a normal, happy human being. This got me a good reputation with our regulars, and I would often help the elderly with heavy groceries into their car. Around this time, the weather was turning and it was becoming bone-chillingly cold out with vicious wind. One of my regulars saw that I didn't have a heavy coat, let alone gloves, and she surprised me with a gift one day. I opened up the little bag and she kindly gifted me a pair of unique knitted green gloves. They were long and had been specially knit to have a left and right hand. I was touched. I thanked her genuinely and wore the gloves every winter for as long as I was in the state. When I moved back to my home state, at some point, I lost that pair of gloves. I don't know how, I don't know where, but it was early 2012. Fast forward to 2017, and I am just getting to know a coworker on a more non-work level, and we decided to hang out at her house for the first time. I'm just getting to know her, and we had some deep conversations, and somehow the subject of gloves come up. I told her I needed some actually, as I lost my pair a while back, and she goes to her closet to grab a shoebox on the top shelf. She says she actually has a whole box of gloves that she's found over the years, and I can gladly take a pair. She's digging through the box, sets out a few pairs, and of the whole box full, she says, "How about these?" and has the same pair of gloves I once had. My jaw drops. She sees my face, and I'm like, "No way." She looks confused as I do, and I'm like, "You're not gonna believe this, but those are actually my gloves I lost a few years ago." And she's like, "Are you sure?" And I told her my story of how a customer gifted them to me, and she's like, "Whoa, I just got a chill. Synchronicity." We had a deep friendship for years after that. She was very spiritual and taught me a few things and made a huge impact on my life. But unfortunately, she met a toxic guy and she just let him control her life, and she became unrecognizable. Now that I type this, the last gift she ever gave me was a pair of new gloves with foxes on them before we stopped talking to each other over that psychopathic guy. But I just thought it was pretty crazy that she, of all people, had my pair and instinctively gravitated towards that pair to give to me. This happened in Ontario, Canada, during the winter of 2012. I was walking home from work at around 3 a.m. The temperature was well below zero and the walk was long. There was a large parking lot without a single car, and it was covered entirely with freshly fallen snow. Not drifts, a fresh, even, light snowfall of a few centimeter tops. Now I get to the glitch in the Matrix part that I will never be able to explain. In the middle of this snowy parking lot was footprints. One set like the invisible man was standing there or someone flew away. I don't know. I need to make this more clear. The entirety of the parking lot was undisturbed snow. No footprints leading to the single set of footprints in the middle, and no footprints were leading away from them. There was nobody standing in the middle of the parking lot, and furthermore, there was no tire tracks in the snow. It was completely fresh and undisturbed, evenly distributed snowy parking lot, other than the impossible footprints in the middle. The world record long jump would not make that distance if jumping comes to mind as an explanation, and there was no snowdrifts to have covered the trail of the footprints. The footprints were like running shoes and looked like they had just been made, as the snow had not had the chance to fall where they were. There was no way I know of that anyone could have made the footprints without walking to or away from their location, which boggles my mind. Regretfully, I did not approach the footprints and was sure to keep my trail at a distance from them to preserve the integrity of the scene. In hindsight, I should have approached or yelled at the footsteps or done anything to explain them other than observe. It's not a big deal, but I will wonder for the rest of my life about it nonetheless. If I was not clear on anything or you have further questions, please ask. But most importantly, please try and explain this. Thanks. I was debating whether or not to post this, but I was sitting having a conversation with my boyfriend, both of us having a cigarette in the bedroom. I stopped smoking like a month ago for anyone about to tell me that this is a bad habit. We like to use those cup-like car ashtrays that have a screw-on lid for convenience and cleanliness purposes. My ashtray was on my bedside table. I was sitting facing forward with a bedside table and bright blue ashtray clear in my peripheral vision, maybe 65-ish degrees relative to my position. I lost focus on it for a moment as I looked down at the cigarette to assess the ash buildup and see if I needed to ash it. I did. This was probably a fraction of a second, just a quick glance. I turned to the ashtray I expected to be there. It was gone. The bedside table was hardwood, and there was nowhere for it to roll because of other items on the table. I did look anyway, because what is someone even supposed to think? What else is there to do? Absolutely gone. Wasn't on the floor. Couldn't possibly fit in the narrow gap between the bed and floor. I didn't really have time to think further on this as the cigarette was still burning. I got up and used my boyfriend's ashtray. He was a few steps away, almost directly opposite me, facing my direction in his PC chair. I put out the cigarette and go sit back on the bed. Boyfriend swivels in his chair to check something on his PC, and then I see the ashtray fall from somewhere above my field of vision and smack loudly into the bedside table, rocking slightly from the impact. There were no shelves near me. We had no pets. The cupboards next to me were built into the wall. Unless I somehow momentarily lost complete sanity and placed the ashtray on a blade of the ceiling fan without my boyfriend seeing, I don't understand how this is possible. Anyone have any theories?